to all those that are in need. So let's just do a little recap. Today's class is dedicated by Avi Rubinov. He's not, I just see he left from Boston, but maybe he'll get on soon and we'll let him know. Just to recap from yesterday's class, we were discussing the very fascinating story of Yosef, that the brothers went down and they didn't know he was Joseph, because Joseph was 17 years old. He left without a beard, still a teenager, and now he's a 30-year-old man, and he is viceroy of Egypt. And they did not know that it was him, and only he knew exactly who they were. And we learned yesterday that they're going to be tested to see if they really regret the fact that they sold Yosef, and Yosef is going to give them a runaround to really see if they regret it. It's very interesting. Today's Chumash, we'll see Yaakov a little bit admits that he actually believes that the brothers were the cause of Yosef's getting sold. We'll see some interesting ideas in today's Chumash. So join me as we learn together today's class. Sorry, I'm just trying to, here's Chabad.org. Hold on. See if we can bring it up over here. Okay, so we're going to go to the daily study. Okay. We're holding Thursday. We're holding the 5th section of Parshas Miketz. So Yosef locks them up, and he says, "You're a bunch of spies." He says that, "I don't believe you because you came in through different entry points. You entered the country through different entry points. You didn't go in together. So obviously you're spying and trying to see what's the best way to conquer the land of Egypt, and that's why you went in. You didn't all go through the border in the same entrance." And they said, "No, it's not true. We really have, it's not true. The reason, so why did you split up into different entry points to get into the country, different parts of the border?" And they said the story, because we were 12 sons, and one of the sons got lost. And on the way to Egypt, we figured if we're traveling here anyway, why don't we split up into 10 different doors and search for Yosef on the way? So we have 12 brothers. One of them stayed home. He's the youngest. And the second to youngest, he got lost. And the top other 10 brothers are dividing and go through different entry points in order to really discover, to try and find Yosef. So Yosef says, "I don't believe you. You're still making up the story. I don't believe the story about your brother. How will I know if it's true? If you bring me so you're saying you're 12, bring me the youngest brother, and then I'll sort of substantiate your claim that there was 12 brothers and the story. If you bring your youngest brother here, then I'll know that the story is legit." In Kainim Atem, and he says, verse 19, after, by the way, they were locked in jail, and yesterday's Chumash, he locked them all up in jail for 3 days. After 3 days, he takes them out, and he says, in Kainim Atem, if it's true what you say, if you're honest people, if you're not making up this story, and you're really looking for food, Achichem echad yeyaser beveis mishmarchem, I'll take one of the 10 brothers, I'll take one of them, and I'll lock him up in the dungeon. This way I have guarantee that you're going to come back. And you go. Go and bring food so your family doesn't starve to death because you came here to buy food. What's it going to help if I lock all 10 of you up and don't give you food? So I want one of you, the rest of you go home to dad and bring me your younger brother to substantiate your claim to this whole story that you're making up. And one of you will stay here locked up in jail, and the rest of you, I'll give you food and go home. You bring home food to your family. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. You go home to your father's family. The next verse 20. And your younger brother, this youngest of the 12 boys, bring him to me, bring him to Egypt. And it will show that it's true, like the word amen, like we say amen, that it's true. I'll know that the whole story is not a made-up Baba Mice, as they say, but this is a true, legit story. And then you won't all die from hunger. But Yasu came, Yosef will want to kill you. I'll know that the whole story is true. Yasu came, and they went and did it. So you want more food? Go back. I'll give you food for now. Bring back your younger brother, and then we could do business. And now, we'll allow you to live. I'll give you food, and you'll be good. But I want to know it's true. So now you got to come back with the youngest brothers. And here, very interesting, in verse 21, is where the brothers realize that they're being punished for what they did to Yosef. You see, the brothers are starting to really regret it. Yosef is teaching them a good lesson, and they're claiming that this is happening to them. They're like, why is this happening to us? We're not spies. Why are we being arrested, put in jail for 3 days? Imagine locked up in a dungeon, and the guy doesn't believe our story. Must be all be punishment from Hashem. Verse 21. So a man tells his brother, we are guilty. It's our fault that this is happening to us. This is not just a no reason story. Alachinu on our brother. And look how they describe when they sold their brother. Asher ra'inu tzaras nafshe. We saw the pain he was in. Bischaneno yeleinu. He was begging us. They're describing the sale of Yosef. Yosef was begging us. Shamanu, and we didn't listen to him. So you see the description of the story. Yosef was begging us not to sell him, not to kill him, and we didn't listen to him. And that's why Hashem is making us suffer. We're being punished. We're being punished by God. God made whoever this viceroy guy is, to think that we are spies and we're going to be punished. Imagine punished for treason. And this is why we're going through. Verse 22. Vayan Ruvain. And Ruvain responds. So the brothers start murmuring, start bringing up the story. This is why we're being punished. And Reuven says, Lamar saying, didn't I tell you? Lamar saying, do not hurt this child. You didn't listen to me. Reuven says, remember the story. I was standing there and I was telling you guys, I was begging you guys, why are you hurting the child? And his blood is being demanded from us now. And Rashi says, not just his blood, the blood of his father. You know how much suffering we made dad go through with the sale. So his blood and dad's sweat and blood, his tears that their father has poured, we're being avenged now. Hashem is punishing us from what we did. But what's so interesting about this conversation between the brothers is Yosef is in the room. And Yosef himself is hearing this conversation, hearing this discussion. Vehem la yadu, verse 23, they didn't know. Kishimei Yosef, that Yosef was listening. And they knew Yosef was in the room, as Rashi explains, but they didn't think Yosef knows Hebrew. They were speaking Hebrew. Why didn't they think Yosef knows Hebrew? Because the whole time Yosef has been playing along the game that he's not Yosef. And part of it was he had a translator interpret to Yosef everything they were saying. So the brothers did not know Egyptian. They thought Yosef didn't know Hebrew. So every time they had to say something to Yosef, they had a translator there. The guy, they told the translator in Hebrew, and the translator told Yosef in Egyptian, and Yosef knows every word what they're saying. Because there was a translator between them the whole time. So they're freely having this whole conversation in Hebrew in front of Yosef, thinking Yosef doesn't know what to say. Rashi says, who was the translator? I guess who in Egypt knew how to translate the conversation? Rashi says it was Yosef's son Menashe. So Yosef had his own son. I don't know if they knew he was Yosef's son, but this guy, there's someone there in Egypt. Yosef, I guess, told the son, don't let on what's going on. Yosef's son probably realized what's going on. And he says, you translate, you'll be the translator here, you'll be the professional translator, and I will, and we're not going to tell them who I am. But Yisov me'alehem. So Yosef, hearing this conversation, he turned away, he ran away from them. But Yefkin, he cried because he saw he had mercy on them. And he didn't want them to, that's why he started crying. He moved away from them. He moved away from them so they shouldn't see him crying. And why did he cry, Rashi says? Because he saw that they regretted. This is exactly what he wanted to hear. He wanted to hear that the brothers regretted their original decision to sell him. But I guess he doesn't feel they enough regret the decision. He needs to make sure that these boys are changed people, that they're not going to continue to act in this crazy, horrible way, the way that they were acting. But Yosef ma'aleim. So Yosef runs away, doesn't want to see him crying, and he comes back after he finishes crying, gets his emotions under control. By Yashav aleim, he returns to them. By Yidabed aleim, he speaks to them. Yikach mi'itam, and he takes from them one prisoner, Shimon. The Yasser oisei leineim, and he locks them up. He puts Shimon in shackles in front of their eyes. There's 2 points Rashi makes in this part of the story. Number one, why did he choose Shimon of all the brothers? Why Shimon was the one to be arrested? So Rashi gives 2 different reasons. One, he says, very interesting. He says, because Shimon was the main instigator in the sale of Yosef. He was the one who threw Yosef into the pit. And he was the one, if you remember in the Chumash when it said that the dreamer's coming, when they saw Yosef coming from far, and they said, the dreamer's coming, let's get rid of him, it was Shimon. So it seems that Shimon was the worst of all the brothers. Shimon was the one, they were all held responsible, I guess, because they all were part of the act. But Shimon was the one who was the biggest instigator out of all of them. That's one reason Rashi says why Yosef specifically locked up Shimon. The other answer, also very interesting what Rashi says, is because Yosef was afraid of Shimon and Levi being together. Because if you remember the story in what's it called, in that town in Shechem, that Shimon and Levi wiped out the whole town. And he felt that these 2 brothers when they get together, it's not a good situation. So he was concerned that who knows what they're going to plan over here now that the 2 brothers are together in Egypt. So he right away locks up Shimon because he doesn't want Shimon and Levi. He feels that they're dangerous. When these 2 guys are together, you got to keep them apart. So that's why he specifically chose Shimon, because he did not want Shimon and Levi. So either because Shimon was the main culprit in the sale of Yosef, or because Shimon and Levi are dangerous, and therefore he had to lock one of them up. Now, the verse also, Rashi says very interesting. It says he shackled Shimon in front of their eyes. Rashi says that was only a facade, only when they were looking. As soon as the brothers left, he let Shimon go, and he gave him food and drink, and he took very good care of him. So he wanted the brothers to think that Shimon was locked up, but really, Shimon had a pretty good life, it seems, in that jail cell. There was no Rikers Island. It was a much more lenient, easy place to go. Verse 25, Yitzav Yosef, and Yosef adds another, the plot thickens here. He says to his workers, he says, listen, fill up all the sacks of these guys' bar with food, with grain. V'hashivu kaspehem ish al sakei. Put all the money that they paid, they came with money to buy the food, put also the money back in the bags. And give them even food for the way. And they did. So he went, he loads up the animals with food, with grain. He puts money inside, back that they paid for the grain inside their packages, and also gives them food for the way. Go home. Vayisu Ashivram, so verse 26, they load up their grain, and they leave Yosef's palace where Yosef was. So one of them, on the way, he opens up his package. One of the brothers opens up the package. Why did he open his package? Because he has to give fodder for his donkey. He has to give food. He has to take out of the package some food for the donkey. Where was it? Bamalin. They were in a hotel. They were in an inn, some kind of motel. And they saw he sees his money. He opens up to get food. He sees his money. And it right on top of the package, right on the top. As soon as he unzippers it, he sees the money that he went to pay, exactly the money he went to buy the food, is put back. Verse 28, so he tells his brothers, he says, brothers, something very weird is happening here. We got the food and the money. Hushav Kaspi, they returned the money. And here, right here, it's in my bag. And their hearts went out. Their hearts sunk. The Yechrin, they got very afraid. They're very scared of this guy Yosef. That there's some plot going on over here. The Yechrin ish al achiv lemar, and they said to each other, what is God doing to us over here? What is God trying to bring to us? This is even worse. Now we're going to be accused of stealing the money, and that we never even paid for it. Now, not just are we spies, but we're walking out of here without paying for the merchandise that we just purchased. And they are getting very, very scared, these brothers. Yaakov, when they came to Yaakov, even their father, Canaan, back to the Canaan, the land of Canaan, back to Israel. They travel north. They told the father the whole story. Then they told their father, the The Lord of the land spoke to us kashas very tough, very harshly, not nice. We did not have a good experience. He was very mean to us. And he even claimed that we were spies. He said that we were trying to spy out the land, a very dangerous, super dangerous claim. And we told them, so we're honest people, we're not spies. We told them the truth. We told them we're 12 sons, 12 brothers, B'nai Avinu, sons of our father, Echad, one father, Einenu. One of us is not here. One of the brothers are not here. Bakatin Hayoim Esavinu, and the youngest of them all is with our father Beretz Canaan in the land of Canaan. We told him the whole story. We're very honest with it. Told the story. The man said to us, Adeni Aretz is who's the master of the land. This, how would I know that your story is true? That you're saying the truth. Leave me one brother here. I'm going to give you food so that you could continue to live, give you some food, but I'm keeping one brother here locked up. And then he told us, when you bring me your younger brother, they're telling the whole story here to the dad, I'll know that you're not spies, because you're saying the truth. I will give you back your brother Shimon. And once you substantiate your claim, the land will be open to you for business. You can go and do whatever you want. Just substantiate your claim. Bring me your younger brother, and then you could do any business you want here. Full open land for you. Feel free to do business and whatever you'd like. And as they're telling the father's story, they start unloading all the packages because they only knew that one brother had the money in it. They take off all the packages. Every guy has his money in his package. Yiru, Esreris, Kaspeim, and they saw the bundles of the money. It looked exactly the same money that they dropped off. Hema Vaviem, the Yiru, their father was there, watched the brothers unloading the packages. The father and the brothers all see by Yirau, Hema Vaviem, and they became very frightened. They became very scared. There's something going on here. This player in Egypt is trying to send them to the dogs. There's something going on here that's not good. So the father says, Yaakov, so Yaakov tells his sons, Yaakov, the father, tells his sons, he says, look, you see, and here he's saying that he suspects them a little bit. You have bereaved me of my son Yosef, and he's gone now. Last time I sent him to check on you guys, and you see here, interesting, that Yaakov a little bit suspects here. Rashi says that actually they killed Yosef or they sold him. He already started saying, I don't trust you guys anymore. You guys are there's something going on here that's not the whole story. I sent Yosef to check on you, and Yosef disappears. Now I send Shimon. You come back now, Shimon's not there. That's Binyamin Tikacho. Now you want to take my son Binyamin? You're going to take Binyamin? Alai, Tikho Alai, Hayu Kulanu, and everything's lost. All these troubles have come upon me. You've made me a bereaved person. A father to lose a child is a terrible thing. So I lost Yosef. I sent with you now. I lost Shimon. I'm down 2, and you want to take Benjamin? So Reuven is the oldest, tells his father, he says, over my 2 sons' dead bodies, if I don't bring back Benjamin, you can kill my 2 sons. I'll give them to you. If I don't return Benjamin back to you. In other words, let's talk man to man. You take my kids if I don't bring back your son. So the father says, what kind of deal is that? It's ridiculous. They're my grandchildren. What, you think I want to hurt my grandchildren? My son won't go down with you. I'm not sending, I don't care what you say, Reuven, I'm not sending Benjamin with you. His brother already died. He's the only one left from that mother. If God forbid Benjamin, something happens, right? You guys are big troublemakers here. I send Yosef, you destroy him. I send Shimon, he gets lost. Now I send Benjamin with you, and something will happen to him. I'm going to go down with sorrow to the grave. I won't be able to handle it. And my father losing 3 children. and you're offering me your children, my grandchildren. What's that supposed to mean? Rashi says. What kind of offer is that? And he doesn't trust Reuven. And you see, he's in general suspect of the boys. I don't know if now or the whole time, but he's definitely suspicious of his sons now that something is going on with the brothers, and he even suspects that they might have had a hand in killing or selling Yosef at this point in the game. He knows that something's going on here. Now, he doesn't listen to Reuven, but Yehuda he will listen to. And especially because when there's no options, because they're going to run out of food. And the land is getting very heavy in the hunger, terrible hunger that's going on in Egypt. And it happens at the point in time when the food was gone. There's no more food left. They ran out. Yosef brought a limited amount. Yosef sent a limited amount of food with the brothers, and they ran out of that food. The father goes back to his son. He says, go and bring back food. Go back to Egypt and bring back food. And Rashi says here that Yehuda told his brothers, because their father didn't want to listen to some Binyamin. Yehuda told his brothers, Yehuda was the fourth son, but his father also trusts him more than the rest, it seems like. He seems to be more of a responsible, the leader. He was the leader of the pack. And, right, I believe they also followed him because, remember when he said, let's sell him, he was the one who said, let's sell him instead of killing him, and they listened to him. That's in a way why they did not like Yehuda, because they said, Yehuda, I guess Shimon instigated them to sell him, but Yehuda was the one who defended him. He said, Yehuda, had you said that we shouldn't sell him, either we would have listened to you too. But maybe it seems the father knew that Yehuda was the one to talk to. He was the leader of the brother. He was the instigator. He was the leader. I don't know, the instigator. Shimon was the instigator, but Yehuda was the leader. And Yehuda told his brothers, Dad doesn't want to send Benjamin. Now, but just wait till the house runs out of food. And then we'll be able to knock some sense into this old man. To this old man, we'll get him to concede. And that's what happened. When the food ran out, it says in verse 2, and the father says, go get us food. And so Dad, listen, you want us to get food, you know what you have to do. So Yehuda this time responds to his father. Lamer saying, hey, Banu. The guy told us very clearly, he testified very strongly. He says, Yosef said, you want food? No problem. But you must, under no condition, you got to bring back Binyamin if you want me to provide you with food. Lamer, he said, he said, don't see my face. If your brother's not with you, I don't trust you guys. Unless you bring back Benjamin here, there's nothing to talk about. Don't come back to Egypt and ask me for food. Tell me you need food and provisions. I'm telling you very clearly, unless you bring back Benjamin, there's nothing to talk about. So they tell their father, they tell their dad, they tell Yaakov, this is what the condition is. You want food, you have to send Benjamin. If you send our brother with us, Dad, we will go and we'll bring you food. And if you don't, we're not going down. Because the man told us, he told us not to go unless the brother's there. So, Dad, you want us to go? No problem, but you got to send Benjamin. But Yisrael and Yisrael, Yaakov, their father, right? His name is also Yisrael, says, why do you do this to me? Why do you cause me such suffering? To tell this man, why do you even tell him? Why do you have to bring up Benjamin into your conversation? Why was Benjamin even brought into the picture over here that I need to now deal with this? Why did you tell him you even have a younger brother? Why you were stupid for bringing Benjamin up in your story. Why did you bring a Benjamin up into the story to begin with? But so they tell their dad, no, it wasn't so simple. The man asked us many questions. When he asked us, we were born Lamar, and he said, he says, your dad's still alive. And Rashi says from the Medrash here, brings from the tradition, the oral tradition, that the guy knew everything about our lives. He even knew the kind of wood of our cradles were made out of, meaning to say he knew everything. We couldn't hide. I think maybe it was the cup. He had that magic cup. He was saying he knew. Obviously, we know how Yosef knew because Yosef was actually their brother. But they're like, Dad, we could not hide anything. He said, how is your father? And we told him. He told us, and we told him that we have, and he also, we couldn't get out of the question. He says, do you have a father? Yes, of course, we told him, you have a father. And we we had no choice but to respond to his questions. We told him all these things. Did we know by answering his questions that he'll ask us to tell you to bring Benjamin down? Here he asked, you have a father, about our family. And we told him, you have father and brother. Do we think that will ever lead to having to bring Benjamin down to Egypt? Finally, Yehuda tells his father, Yisrael Aviv, Shilcha Anar, send the boy Iti with me. We're going to get up, we're going to go. And we'll live and we won't die. Us, Gamata, you, dad, Gamata Peinu, and also the young children, because he says, listen, you know what? You're scared Benjamin might die. We're all dead if we don't go down. What choice do you have? So what? So we shouldn't go. We'll all die. What do you want better to happen? Here, there's a chance. You're saying you don't trust us that Benjamin might die on the way. Fine. I'm not going to argue on that. But let's say he will die. That's 50-50 chance, or it's not a guarantee. All of us are going to die if we don't go. Now, he says the word v'nichya, and you will live, and we will live. And Rashi's saying he's talking some divine providence that was going to happen. There was some divine inspiration that Yaakov will live, meaning he will get back his divine prophecy, because Yaakov, when he finds that Yosef is alive, Hashem will start speaking to him clearly again. And now he guarantees it. He says, I am guaranteeing to bring Benjamin back. If not, you could demand it from my hand. If I don't bring him to you, and I'll stand before you. I will have sinned forever in my life. So basically, Yehuda says, I'll take it under my belt. This is personal. This is me and him. I don't bring him back dead. It's on me. And I will sin even for the world to come, Rashi says. I'll be suffering in hell. Suffer in hell in the world to come. If I don't bring Benjamin back to you, I'll suffer. I'll owe it to you, and I'll owe it to God in hell. I'll suffer, and so on. Kilule hisma'amanu. If you were just dead, not already, if you wouldn't tarry, if you would not keep on holding us back, we could have already twice returned. So, and we could have brought back Shimon. Shimon's locked in jail. We're leaving him there locked up in jail. And you wouldn't have to suffer so much, Dad. Just let us go already. So finally, their father concedes. So Yisrael, their father, says, he says, let me at least think of some advice, something that I could tell you, to, like what you should do to help make you successful. Asu chu mizimra sa'aretz. He says, take some of the choicest produce of the land. Send some kind of a gift to this guy, the viceroy. Bring it to him. Mincha miyat, a little bit of a gift. Let's give him some kind of gift. Ma'atzari mincha, ma'atzari ma'atvash. Chayis v'loid b'tanim mishkedim. He sent them a package of some balm, some honey, some wax, pistachios, and almonds. Different kinds of gifts that are known for in the land of Israel. And he sends him. Rashi says maybe it means peaches, pistachios. I'm not sure exactly what it means, but something that grow in Israel that are unique to the land. Let's send this guy some fruits. We keshev mishnah and take double the amount of money. Kubi yadechem, take in your hand. Take twice as much as the first. Why? Because who knows? Food, the price might have gone up, and you might need more money than last time in order to purchase the food you need. In addition to that, take back the money that was in the mouth of your bags that he gave back to you. Return it to Ulai Mishkehu. Maybe there was a mistake. Somebody in the department over there forgot and gave the money back by mistake. So take everything back with you. Take enough money, double the amount from before to buy whatever you need, and also return the money that was given to you. And take your younger brother, and go back to the man. The Kel Shaka, and the last thing I could do for you is pray for you and God. And here he bemoans, listen to his fate. The father says, oh my goodness, all the suffering that I've been through, God of heaven, who has seen everything that I have been through, Yitin lachem rachimim, should finally give mercy on you. Lefnei Aish, in front of this man. V'shilach lachem es achechem, and send your brother, Acher, Bes Binyamin, he'll release your other brother, and Benjamin. Bani kasher shakolti ami, as I'm bereaved. I'm losing my children one after another here, and I'm ready for it. If I have to lose a third child, that's what I'm going to have to put myself out under. So I'm going to pray for you. Let's just read this Rashi. He says, God, we use this term for God, Kel Shakai. we ask that Hashem, who grants mercy, is sufficient. Shekai means enough, whose mercy is sufficient. And God can redeem us from this thing. So that's a simple meaning. Rashi brings an interesting meaning. He says, whoever says, not shakai from enough, that die enough, God who can give enough should also tell our suffering in life that it's been enough. We've suffered enough in life. He says, from a young person, I haven't stopped dealing with suffering. First, I dealt with Laban when I went to him. Then I dealt with my life with Esav. Then my wife died on me, Rachel. And then my daughter Dina was abducted. And that whole story. Then my son Yosef disappeared. And now my son Shimon disappeared. And now my son Benjamin is leaving. And he's saying, God, enough. I think Hashem, God who gives enough, I had enough of my package in life. And Hashem, please make this the end of the suffering that I'm going through. And he says the term, bring back Shimon, and he says the term acher, another. Rashi's saying also this, they're using divine prophecy that Yosef will come back too. He's saying, but he doesn't know what he's saying, and he's going to wait for Benjamin to get back, as Rashi says, because he doesn't know. Maybe he lost a third child now, and he's going to wait in anticipation to see if he's bereaved of Benjamin too. The last verse, so the brothers took the gift, Hazayis, Mishnah Kesef, and the double money, more money. Look, Chubiyadim took in their hand. They took Benjamin. They got up and they went down to Egypt. Yosef, and they stood in front of Yosef. That is the end of today's fascinating Chumash portion that we have. Any questions or comments on today's Chumash?
Yes.
David, yes. Can we see you or no?
I'm gonna. Yeah. Somebody else can go. I'll go on video, but somebody else can go first.
No, go ahead, David. We always want to hear your questions.
I have them written down. Good.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
So
how many are there?
No,
give me. Let me pace myself.
I'm not going to hog it all, but so Yosef is really taking the role of punishing the brothers, and we've talked about this before. Like, shouldn't Hashem be the one who's meting out punishment? Who is Yosef to be in charge? So, I mean, I understand he's the viceroy, or the assistant to the Pharaoh, but in Judaism, it's really, you're supposed to forgive, and it's, he's really letting them have it. I mean, he's conflicted about it, but he is punishing them. So that's
great point. Very, very good point. Let's do one at a time. So, yeah. First of all, he will forgive them wholeheartedly, which is amazing. He will say, he will not, once he finishes whatever he's trying to do over here, he will not mention a word. You know where it's going to come out? When their dad dies, when their dad passes away, when Yaakov passes away, that's when the brothers really get scared, because they thought that Yosef was just being nice to them as long as dad was alive. But once their dad dies, Yosef is going to teach them a lesson. And he doesn't. And he says, I have nothing against you. So Yosef does, he will forgive them. That's just, he will totally forgive them and not do anything back to them. But there will be a short time, right? Less than a year, I don't know, a week, a few weeks, a month, whatever it is, that he will teach them a lesson. It's interesting to see, I don't know if this answers the question fully, but it puts some light into the question, is the lessons he's teaching them is to see that they change their heart and attitude. I guess if they would still sell him or so on, then he's not going to reveal himself to them. He wants to know that they're changed people. I don't know if does that answer it a little bit. I'm not sure. He will totally forgive
no,
them.
It does, but I'm still I don't disagree with how things played out. I mean, he was originally left for dead and sold into slavery and went through a terrible thing, and it would be it's human to
But he's
have
not,
that
David,
kind of.
he's not just making them suffer. He's not just making them torture and suffer. He wants to know that they will stand up. What he's going to do is he's going to make them defend Benjamin. That's what he's going to do. The whole plot is to make them, basically, he's going to take Benjamin and lock Benjamin up. And they're going to say, Yosef, over our dead body, we're going to fight for him. And that, right after he does that, he's going to say, okay, go free.
But I guess the question is it okay for man to be the one to administer the test? Isn't it for Hashem to do, not for man to do?
Yes, you're usually right. I'm saying, yeah, you're correct. That's usually true, that we are not supposed to be punishing people. What we should do is not keep on letting people hurt us.
Right. That's true. But I think the trouble is that it's like it's a form of vengeance, and I think that's.
But he wasn't just doing vengeance. He wasn't just doing vengeance. He was saying, I want to know that you really changed your heart. So let's say someone wants to borrow money from you who didn't pay you back, and they want to borrow again. And you'll say, I'd love to lend you, but I'm not going to. Once I know for sure that you'll pay me back and you can prove it to me, then I'll lend you. So I have the food, and you're asking me for it, but I need to know that you're not, I guess it's not, the food is not exactly, they're asking Yosef for something. And Yosef's basically saying, I need to know that you're changed people before we can do business, before we can. I don't know if that fully answers the question, but he's not just taking vengeance, right? You're right. He is playing partial role of God by teaching them a lesson. He kind of is like the parent, I guess. He kind of like the parent. Parent does teach their kids lessons. Maybe Yosef feels that he's taking the parenting role over his brothers here. I guess maybe that is okay. It's a good question, but I'm trying. I don't know if I'm answering fully, but I think it's shedding a little bit of light.
It's a good answer. I'll take it. I'll accept it.
He will give them full. First of all, yes, he will fully forgive them, which is amazing, which is shocking that he will fully forgive them. And B, it's kind of like, you're right. I agree with you. In life, we're not supposed to be God and be teaching lessons to people. But maybe if it's your brother, sometimes you got to teach your brother a lesson. Sometimes you gotta step up and play the parent and feel like he has to teach his brother a lesson. That's what he did.
Thank you.
All right, great question. Great. What else, David? What else do we have on the agenda?
Oh, well, again, I want to open it up to anybody else first.
Let's go to someone else. So Ira has a question or comment. Yes.
I'm wondering if Rashi says anything in one of the sentences. It says that they said that Joseph asks, "Is your brother still alive?" The brothers, when he's saying, he asked about the father, and then he also asked, "Is your brother? Do you have another brother?" I think he said.
Yes.
But he really didn't say that when they were in front of him.
Right. No. So Rashi's giving, the Medrash is telling you more of the story than the Chumash itself is telling you.
So
the Chumash over there, if I remember the Rashi correctly, the Chumash said the father was complaining and saying, why did you give them so much information? And they basically said we had no choice. And Rashi explains why they had no choice. He says, because he was asking us questions.
Right, but he never asked him about, do you have another brother?
But obviously Rashi, it doesn't say it in the Torah but Rashi says he did ask them that.
So he did ask them that.
Or at least they told their father that he asked them that.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying like they lied to cover their.
I don't know. It's good. I mean, it doesn't tell us. I would have to open the Medrash and see exactly.
Right. I just wonder.
Maybe he did. I don't know if they lied. It's possible they lied to their father. The bottom line is, the dad started screaming at them. I guess at that point he was already giving in. He's kind of like, "Why did you have to tell him that we have another brother?" And they said, "Dad, the guy was asking questions. What did you want us to do?" That basically that's what they were saying.
They asked you have another. He said he asked you have another brother.
Right. So the way Rashi tells the brothers told their father's story, it's a little different than how the Torah says the story. Correct.
Okay.
So I don't know. They were in a very tight spot because they were being accused of trying to throw down the government, of trying to fight that's what they're being accused of. And the Torah just says, "Oh, we have a younger brother," and the father's like, "Why'd you say that?" And Rashi says the brother said, he was asking his questions. It's very
Yeah,
possible. I don't know. It's very possible he did ask. We don't know. We don't know if the brothers made it up or not. We know the brothers said it to their father. It could be that Yosef actually asked him that question. I'm not sure.
I just think that, if that was the case, that would be, I would think he would ask that. If he was going to ask it, it would be in the Torah. You know what I'm saying? I mean, asking about, especially.
You know what? The Torah doesn't tell us. The Torah only shares very little limited information. Very limited information. The Torah was given. You're right. I'm saying, but that's the way the Torah.
When it comes to the poles at the well for the sheep's for mating, then they give you the exact detail.
So we're asked. I mean, the Rashi asked. The question's not on here. The question's on there. The question is, if the Torah style is to be so condensed, why is it talking so much?
Right.
It's the question's the opposite. You're right. You're asking a good question, but the question's not now why it's so short. The Torah is always so short. Imagine if you had to do a Hagbah on a Torah that that was triple the size. I'm saying, like, the Torah, especially in the desert, they were copying over. I don't know. I'm not arguing why it has to be so short, but the Torah is short. That's the reality. It's very, very short. It's done in a very short kind of way. So,
Rabbi,
yeah, it's not a proof either way. Yes, Eyal.
can I take a swing at David's question?
Sure.
Um,
I just want to say,
David
let me just say, hang on 1 second. I just want to say one thing because of the timing. I'm not going to rush it. I see where I can't believe it's 12:50. Whoever made their commitment to learn daily, you fulfilled your commitment. Whoever's able to stay, it's always a lot of fun and exciting to stay on with us. Avi, are you here, Avi? I see your name, but I can't see your face. Just want to say one more thing before we go on. Avi Rubinov, Atashama. He's not there. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Sure. Take a swing at David's question.
So David is 100% correct. The Torah tells us not to test people and stuff like that. However,
He's saying revenge. He's saying not to do revenge to people. Right.
However, the Torah tells us, which means if your friend does something wrong, it's your duty to show him the right way. And in essence, what he's doing here, the outcome of it is that the sons, his brothers, will tell the father eventually, Yosef, we didn't kill him. So he's in essence correcting a wrongdoing of the brothers that they did, and he's bringing them back into the straight path and not leaving them in the deviation and the lie that he died.
The problem is that it's similar to what I said, but the problem is that if we open up a blanket check that people, you said a statement that we're supposed to admonish our brother. We're all responsible for each other. 100% that's true. The problem is if everyone starts playing the role of God in starting to teach other people lessons, that could be a big problem. And I think that's actually often against Torah. It's not our job it's our job to teach people, but not to torture people, to help God in punishing people for what they're doing. So I think it's a great point that you're making. Maybe a father for sure has a right to sometimes teach his kids, and a brother has a right, and the Beth in the court has a right too. Maybe Yosef, you know what, I would also argue that Yosef was the king, was the viceroy of Egypt. So if Yosef's the king and he's the viceroy of Egypt, that would actually give him the right as a king to teach his subjects a lesson too. Maybe that would also answer David's question.
Not only that, he had a prophecy. He had a divine power of a dream. Right. So yeah, so he's the whole time since he was sold, it's as if the prophecy left Jacob and came to Yosef. Because
Yosef played a role as a father here. Yosef is he's the king and he's a brother, and therefore it could change things. Very interesting. But I just want to make one case. Hang on 1 second, Brad. I just want to say that for people, there's an interesting case in halacha. I'll tell you where it's put. There's one specific halacha that is in my mind the whole time. Why I'm being careful with this argument. That there's sometimes people lose their stuff, right? Your kids and other people lose their stuff. And I remember I remember this happening in class, and people will do this often to someone else. Someone left their phone somewhere, so they want to teach the person a lesson not to leave their phone around. So what do? They'll take the person's phone, they'll hide it, let the guy freak out for a day, and guess what? We'll teach him a lesson that he won't leave his phone around anymore. And the halacha says that's prohibited. You're not allowed to do that. It's stealing. Even if you want to do a benefit, according to Jewish law, you're not allowed to do that, which is why I'm being very careful with what I'm trying to say. This blanket statement that people could just teach other people a lesson is not okay. You're not allowed to do that according to Jewish law. I saw specifically that law a while ago. Look it up again. This is off the cuff, but you can't just steal somebody's thing and it's stealing. You're stealing. You're not allowed to do that. So you don't have a blanket check to just do whatever you want to other people to teach them a lesson. I can imagine people doing horrible things to other people to try to teach them a lesson because they want to get them on the straight and the narrow path. Not allowed, but we have to, I would say more, we have to find the reason why Yosef was allowed to do it. Maybe, I think it's a great question, great conversation, some of the ideas that I'm sharing, why I'm not just so easy saying, yes, he can do whatever he wants. Yeah, yes, you want to follow up and then we'll go to Brett.
Was he trying to teach him a lesson or force them to bring his brother and his father down to him so he can reveal the whole plot and say, I'm Joseph and I corrected everything you guys did bad. Now I can see my father, I can see my brother, and now we're united as a family again.
So you're arguing that Yosef was trying to fulfill the destiny. It's a great point. You're trying
he
to say
had
that
a prophecy capability, so he knew.
Right. So he knew he had to play this role. Okay. It's a good argument. I'm not going to, it's a great argument. Brett, go ahead. Let's get
I was going to basically say something of similar lines. Like, he's like a Sadiq, so like, isn't he like, has like divinely inspiration, like in some things that he does. So like, although like maybe me or you can't go and like make a test for someone or something like that, but because he's like a holier person, he's closer in tune to like what God wants. Like, it's a different type of thing.
Right. Okay. That would be an argument too. So Yosef has special credentials to being such a holy man to do it. Okay. All right, David, you have a bunch of answers here for your question. You have he's filling the destiny. He's a tzaddik and has the rights to do it. And then what I may be adding to he was the king and had a right to do it, or he was a brother playing a role as a father. So, but anyway, yes, David, let's move on to your next question. Maybe.
I just have one brief rebuttal.
Yes.
Okay.
This could go on all day. Okay, we'll leave it after the rebuttal and move on to your next question.
Okay, so just a brief rebuttal, and I hear everything that, and generally speaking, I'm a huge Yosef fan. I think he got shortchanged.
Last time you were opposite angry at the brothers. Now you're defending
right. I think that he should have been.
Could you make up your mind whose side you're on?
Right. No. This is good because take both sides. That's a good lawyer can argue either side. But I understand what everybody said. And I understand the concept of giving him special dispensation in this regard for meeting out, for the story had to play out. So the brothers learned something, but I feel, and as much as I'm a fan of Yosef, I think one of his his Achilles heel is he lacked humility. And that was what kind of got him in trouble in the first place. And here he is again, years later, and he's acting godlike in meting out his punishment. So that's what I'm conflicted about. Okay, the brothers grew from the bad experience, and they changed, and Yosef obviously grew as well. However, he's not. He doesn't show humility. He still has the brothers as the wheat bowing down to him. He still thinks of himself as above them, and that troubles me a little bit. That's my rebuttal on that issue.
Maybe he really was above them.
No, that's a good point. So the other issue is with Levi and Shimon. So Levi, I understand that they were the ones that didn't participate with the Egel HaZahav, and so they became a special tribe. I get that, but there's like a Yetzer, there's a bad Yetzer, it's like a Yetzer Hara in them also, in that they were responsible for wiping out Shechem with Shimon. So like, what was aside from the Egel HaZahav, was there anything else that helped Levi, the tribe, the people, transitioned to be more elevated because they were really barbaric, as I understand, in the wiping out of Shechem. So, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, we defended their act then when we learned it in class. I mean, that's a discussion for that story. We said that that rape at that time was punishable by death penalty, capital punishment, and also whoever is supporting people who raping also need to get the same punishment as that person. So they held that there was some argument in their eyes that they thought that they were right for what they did. There will be people that will view that story in a positive light because they stand up for what's right and they don't let people abuse other people. So if you view what was done as abusive people and everybody else was just hushing it, even Yaakov just wanted to hush it, Levi and Shimon said, no. Will we allow this kind of behavior for people to just rape our sister? Will we allow this to happen? No. So you might argue the opposite, is that this special character found in Moshe later on, that Moshe will see an Egyptian hitting a Jew and will not be able to tolerate it, might actually be a unique good character of people that they won't let it go down. So Levi and Shimon, and they'll do crazy things in order to stop evil, and that's what Yosef was scared of. It was wrong what Yosef was doing. He was arresting Shimon for wrong reasons that wasn't true, and he was scared that Levi and Shimon were going to do a job when they found out that they're being wrongfully done. So there may be hot-headed, there may be, I don't know if they're evil people, but they're people who take initiative to stop criminals from their acts. So you could also look at it in a positive light, and so it doesn't have to mean they're bad. It could mean that they actually committed. They're committed, and they will protect their family and their loved ones, and they'll protect what's right. That you could look at it in that way too. All right. Any other questions or comments? Great questions. Makes it so much more fun, and great answers. Everybody participating is definitely adds a lot to our. We have a yeshiva. We have a yeshiva of Talmidei Chachamim, of scholars over here as we learn Torah. Good. We'll move on. Tanya.